Welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked, where passion meets possibility. Here's your host, Meredith Calloway.
Hello, and welcome to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast. I am Meredith Calloway, your host. Today, we are doing a very special episode in honor of Global Travel Advisor Day, which is May 7th this year. But at GTN, we like to celebrate our advisors for an entire week. So we have actually renamed it National Travel Advisor Week. And that is why my podcast guest today is Shannon Cunningham, because she is the biggest cheerleader of all at GTN of our advisors. And today's podcast is all about celebrating travel advisors and appreciating them and just giving some really good, fun content for them to listen to. As this episode is dedicated to them and it's for them. So thank you, Shannon, for joining me today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I love the opportunity to shine a light on travel advisors when we have that chance. And as Director of Engagement at Gifted Travel Network, we try to do that on a daily basis, on a regular basis. For Travel Advisor Appreciation Week, we're going to do it for more than a day. We're going to do it for a whole week with a lot of fun engagement activities and just some special ways for them to be loved and appreciated, because being a travel advisor is not the easiest of jobs. And while it does seem like a glamorous job, it's not always quite so glamorous. So they deserve the appreciation and they deserve the light that we're going to shed on them this week, well, that week and today.
I do believe that Director of Engagement is such a perfect role for you because you are all about engagement. You've always been very deliberate and amazing at getting people to engage more in their communities. And that's what you do at Gifted Travel Network. And it is unbelievably valuable. So let's start with appreciating you because you were a travel advisor, right?
I was a travel advisor for many years. And yes, was in that seat, was in it when it was a hot seat during the pandemic. So I know exactly how they feel. And there are many times when they do feel underappreciated for little things that they may do that can go such a long way. And they do it without the client even realizing some of the things they do, and so that's why that's why I'm the biggest cheerleader for travel advisors. I know that those little nuances that happen and the big nuances as well. So
So let's start there. What is being a travel advisor and what isn't being a travel advisor? Because I think there is a lot of confusion or misconception within, just the general traveling public. I know myself, I've been in the travel space for over 24 years and being an owner or co-owner of a host agency for the last 10, 11 years, I have family, I have friends still say to me, "Oh, do travel advisors still exist?" And then when they hear, a little bit more about, yes, they exist, there's always that assumption that, you know, travel advisors are to get a better deal. I should pick up the phone and call if I want to book a flight, if I want to get a better deal. And so one of our intentions at Gifted Travel Network is to elevate the profession of travel advisors and elevate the perception of the profession of travel advisors because there's travel agents and then there's travel advisors. And I believe those are very different things. A travel agent is a booker and it's very transactionally oriented, and they are the people that are going to get you deals. But we at Gifted Travel Network are here to support travel advisors who I think they have three major roles. The first is designer. They're designers. It's an art. It's not a science. It's an art. And they bring their wisdom, they bring their insight, they bring their brilliance to travel design for to help create experiences. You absolutely did that when you were a travel advisor back in the day. Actually, do you want to talk a little bit about, you know, how you were a designer and how you layered that in to being a travel advisor?
Yeah. And so, well, the difference, I think, between an agent and advisor, because I was an agent at one point in time where I just sat at a brick and mortar agency, sat by the phone, and when the phone rang, I picked it up and I booked a reservation. And then I would hang up. And then when I became an independent consultant and an advisor years later with my own business and my own specialty and specializing in honeymoons and destination weddings, I then layered in becoming an expert in my clients. And that's one of the big things that travel advisors these days really
Yeah.
hone in on is being they're not an expert on Africa or an expert on, South America. They are the expert on their client. And then they find out in strategic ways what's going to be the best fit for them. They create relationships with their clients and with their partners and with their host agencies. They don't let the client feed them the data. They pull out the data from them. They listen to what's not being said, and they make the trip so much more magical than it could ever be.
Absolutely. They're matchmakers, basically.
Mhm.
So they're travel designers, they are project managers,
Yeah.
and they are relationship builders, basically. And like you said, they are building relationships with their partners, they're building relationships with their clients so that they have they do a much better job at that matchmaking. And when they build both, they're able to give their client access to things that they would never be able to create on their own. Um, so one of my favorite analogies is because I've been through it so many times now, is a home renovation.
Uh-huh.
And so if you're going to do a big reno, right, like kind of gutting the house, um, you will want to you have the option to DIY it. Um, but most likely, if it's an extensive renovation, you're going to hire a general contractor for sure. And what the general contractor is going to do is project manage, just like a travel advisor would project manage. But the general contractor is also going to sequence the renovation in a way that makes sense. And that's a lot of the travel design part. You sequence the trip in ways that make a lot more sense because you have that expertise, you have that knowing, you have that understanding of train schedules and plane schedules and what's close and what's not, and what makes sense and what you can do realistically and what you can't do. And then last, the contractor is going to hire subs,
Right.
right? That contractor has already vetted and it has already been working with them. So there's a lot of analogies, and when you do a really big reno, you often will actually hire an interior designer too to come in and help with color selection, placement, layout, all of that. So, um, all right. So, why are travel advisors underappreciated? Like, why do we need a day to celebrate travel advisors? I think it's because they're misunderstood.
Right.
And I think have they create so much value that gets kind of overlooked by people who are not on the receiving end of it.
Mhm.
I also think there's travel agents out there that don't that people have an experience with and it's not a great experience. And so that just contributes more.
Right.
And last but not least, I think there's a lot of dabblers
Yeah.
in the travel agent community. And there are dabblers because the barriers to entry are very, very low. So you can go out tomorrow and pay $50 to join a host agency and have access to booking travel, but that doesn't make you a travel advisor at all.
Right.
So
Or not even
are there,
join a host agency, just book trips. There are dabblers that
yeah,
do that, and that puts a
yes,
really bad reputation on the travel advisor name.
absolutely,
These people are not
absolutely.
serious about what a vacation does and what travel means to people. They are just transactional.
Hmm. Exactly. That is really the key is what the spectrum of transaction mentality
Mhm.
is. The travel agent is at the very one end of the spectrum and the travel advisor is not transactional at all. And it's really they're coming from their heart and wanting to help and serve and make a difference, positive difference in people's lives. So, what we wanted to focus on today is we believe that the best way to elevate the profession is to lead by example. So, as a host agency supporting travel advisors, we would love to do what we can to elevate the profession. And we think the best way to elevate the profession is to lead by example. So, we wanted to focus today on our 3 top tips to lead by example as a travel advisor. So, this episode is for existing travel advisors who just want to feel celebrated, want to feel loved, and would love a couple of tips on how to continue to be better at what they do. Um, so, the first one that we're going to focus on is start with why and
Mhm.
stick to it. And it's kind of actually a perfect lead in what we were just talking about with the transactionally minded. I think that is the vehicle for moving from being transactionally minded to being not so transactionally minded and being a travel advisor is to start with your why and stick with it. Have you read Simon Sinek's book, Start with Why?
No, I haven't. I haven't.
So it's I read it so long ago, a really, really long time ago. But the one thing that I do remember from it is he talks about, companies most often, if you ask someone at a company what they do, they can answer the question.
Mm.
If you ask them how do they do it, m- people can answer that question. Most often they can answer the first question, what they do. Less people can answer how they do it, but a lot of them still can answer how they do it. Why they do it, it's where people fall silent.
Mm.
And he believes, and that's what he says in this book, is you really should be turning this upside down and starting with why. Why do you do what you do? And I think when you do that as a travel advisor, well, first of all, you're an entrepreneur, and you, as an entrepreneur, you're going to need staying power. And if you start with why, and if you really like build a business because of what's in your heart, not what's in your head, you're not doing it because it makes sense and it's logical. You're doing it because you just have this passion for something and you want to share it with other people. That is going to give you staying power during the peaks and the valleys and the peaks and the valleys and the roller coaster ride of being an entrepreneur.
Right.
What does start with why mean to you as a travel advisor?
I mean, my why when I had my agency and it was focused on romance travel, it
Yeah.
was because I wanted to have that romance and that passion infused with travel. I saw my parents have a loving relationship,
Oh, I love this story.
adore each other, and I wanted that. And it took me a while to get that part of the relationship, but I did
But
get
you
that.
did get it.
I did get that relationship, and I wanted to have it, not only at home, but have it while we're traveling and to experience new things together and to help take our relationship to other levels and, just enjoy newness of new places or familiar places that we go back and visit time after time. And I wanted to share that with other couples. So that was my why. And it was more than just, I mean, some of the questions I would even ask my clients is, tell me about your first date or your date night if it was a couple, already
Yeah.
married, and what was the proposal like? And, it got deeper than just where's your ideal honeymoon spot. And
Mhm.
so it was definitely very personal to me. And I love seeing our advisors and their whys, the advisors
Yeah.
with Get to Travel Network. There are a lot of good whys that we have in the
Yeah.
community.
The why has a very magical marketing effect.
Mhm.
And that is that it helps your marketing come from a get place, which is the transaction mentality, right? To a give. I have something really special that I am honoring and valuing. I have a brilliance, and I really want to share that brilliance with people who need it most. And for you, the people that needed your brilliance were couples who wanted to not just fall in love, but stay in love through
Yeah.
travel, through romantic travel experiences, which was your
Best
tagline.
tagline ever.
Best tagline ever. I help couples not just fall in love, but stay in love
Right.
and through travel. And yeah, it think about the difference. It's like, this could be considered a competitive marketplace,
Mhm.
but you stand out like all by yourself when you've got a message that's rooted in your why,
Right.
and it just makes it has so much benefit. There's a lot of amazing benefits when you start with why and stick with it. So let's talk about some examples in our community that have started with their why and stuck with it, and it is meaningful. Who do you want to highlight?
Well, I know you've interviewed her on your podcast before, so she's gonna be easy, and she's always an easy one to highlight. And I remember being at the Jumpstart class
Uh,
that she was in, and it's Mary Jennifer Morcom, or Dr. Mary Jennifer Morcom, who is an oncologist and just a delightful soul. I've gotten to know her over the years, and just come to love and adore and appreciate and respect her more and more. She's so well respected in the medical field, in the oncology field, and now within our travel community. But I remember that day in class, in the Jumpstart class, she said her why, and the reason she was doing this is because, she's there helping so many people in the last moments of their lives, the last weeks and months of their lives and days. And the common theme people would say is, I wish I would have traveled more with the people I love.
Your
And
greatest regrets.
I know that's their greatest regret.
Almost always travel.
Yeah. And that's just so powerful. So with that, she started a travel business, and she is succeeding beyond belief,
Yeah.
because of the people she attracts. She's got a team now that it's a wonderful team. The advisors on her team are just as incredible as she is.
Yes,
And
they
they do
are.
this, they work with passion, they work with heart. And I just love seeing their business soar. And she has
Yeah.
one of the best whys around.
Her why is she doesn't want to have those conversations with her patients anymore. She
Mhm.
wants people to get out and travel. And so she's just going to make it happen so that people are getting out and traveling. And she's sharing that message of, in my profession, I, unfortunately spend time with people in their last days and last weeks of their lives. And a very common theme that comes up is a regret that they didn't take the time to travel. They didn't take advantage. And she wants to flip that.
Yeah.
So that's amazing. I love that story. And I get chills every single time I hear that story. And like I don't know if I'll ever not get chills when
I
we
know,
talk
the same,
about it.
the same. It's very touching, and, yeah, I'm sure she talks about that in her podcast. Um,
Yes, she does. Yeah, in the podcast episode. So if you want to learn more about MJ Markham, Dr. MJ Markham, yeah, just search that in the podcast. Um, let's talk about Wendy Higgins. That's
Yes.
another one that I thought we could highlight as a great example of someone who has started with her why and is sticking with it. You had a really cool story that you shared with me when we were, preparing for this episode. Do you want to share that story?
Yeah, and then I'm like, there's so many stories about Wendy that I'm uncovering, but she came from corporate America and got marketed out, but, had a nice buyout package, was able to leave, and she was in corporate America for over 30 years, I believe she's what she told me, and so she became a travel advisor because she had no idea how she was gonna do it, what she was gonna do, so she did, and she's been hugely successful at it. She's been doing it for 6 years. She's been one of our top producers and one of our top hearts in the community. One of the and she just wants to get people out of their comfort zones. She has people that travel, when they're not comfortable traveling to places they're not comfortable traveling, and she wants to be there to help them celebrate that, to guide them through, and just make sure she's there with them the whole way. She does small group travel, and she also does, families and things like that. So one of her families that is this the one you're talking about that she sent over festive? She sent a
Yeah.
family to
Yes. I
festive.
love this one.
I know, to Australia over the holidays, and so some people are perfectly fine traveling over the holidays at Christmas time, and they were gone for Christmas, but they were a little apprehensive about that, I guess. So she had the hotel put a decorated Christmas tree in their room for the family with kids. I mean, just
Love that.
can't get that when you just
No, I
make
know.
a reservation on the computer yourself, and you can't get that. Yeah, that's
It's
a
the
lot of fun.
thoughtfulness, the
I love
thoughtfulness. And her business name is Victory Travel, right?
Victory Travel, yes.
So, and she named it after her own journey of surviving cancer.
Yeah,
I can't remember what cancer, so I don't want to say the wrong one, but she
right,
definitely is a cancer survivor. And so that was one of so it's similar to MJ, where, when she went through the cancer journey, she learned that, life is too short to push things off.
right,
Um,
right.
and, and to celebrate victories. So that's her why it's very similar to MJ's is we got to get people out there and traveling and having these memorable transformational life experiences. I mean,
Yeah,
has so many incredible powers. It heals, it deepens relationships, it opens the mind, um yeah, it's just as a parent, I love taking my kids international because it just changes their perspective so much, just taking them out of the country alone.
yeah,
Okay, so let's move on to tip number 2 on how to lead by example to elevate the profession. Um, Things to be, model being a really great travel advisor. Um, as business coaches, I think one of the best things you could do is elevate your brand.
yeah.
Now, I know, Shannon, you remember the days of when I had just started Gift and I would exhibit at shows. And one of the things I would do at my booth to build my list and be a good marketer
Right.
is I would offer a free business card consultation if they signed up for whatever free drawing thing. Um, and do you remember what I would get?
Yes, I remember because I helped you in the booth one time to evaluate business cards.
I
Yes,
mean, we would get clip art, we would get, um, the clip art airplanes or
yeah,
globes on as the logos,
and
very
emails.
DIY things.
Emails,
Yep.
Sally at AOL.com.
AOL.com. Yes. And so I would like to think that our gifted travel network advisors are way beyond all of that, but there is still, you know, you can always elevate your brand.
Man. And I was guilty of it. I had the generic travel. I had a palm tree and a girl laying under the palm tree when I first started. I mean, she was by herself and had a ponytail, one girl. And I'm like, I don't know what I was thinking.
Yeah.
And I went through some rebranding and had that logo completely redone. I kept the color scheme, but I just went with a big heart, a beautiful heart shaped in a different type of way. It's still a heart shape, but it was more elevated. It was definitely elevated, and it was in the colors of a sunset. And that fit my brand, and it showcased what I did more than the single girl under the palm tree.
Exactly.
So I don't want anybody who might be listening to
URL, so your email address was not at AOL or
right, or at Gmail. I had it Shannon at paradisevacationescapes.com, and so there's always room for growth and always options to rebrand. And in fact, that leads us into one example of an advisor that we had.
Yes.
She went through the whole program that we taught, but I cannot remember what the name of her business was in the beginning. Do you remember what Patricia's was?
I can't remember, but it was cool.
It was good.
Oh, it was because it had something to do with her time living in Tanzania. Yeah, Acacia and something travel.
Acacia and Lime, I think.
Acacia and Lime. Yeah, it was meaningful to her, but it wasn't meaningful to anybody else.
Right. Yep.
So she rebranded.
Yeah, she did, and made it even more beautiful.
It's gorgeous.
And now it's Curated Travel Partners. So it aligns with her messaging in such a better way, and curated. I mean,
and curated.
That word.
So I used to always say, if you shortcut it, and shortcutting it is DIYing it. If you're trying to cut costs and trying to cut corners when it comes to your brand, you're going to attract clients who want to cut corners and want to cut costs. So if you DIY your branding, you're going to attract people who want to DIY their vacation, and people who want to DIY their vacation are transactionally oriented. They're not a good match for you, and they are going to make you want to pull your hair out, and it's just not a good alignment. So hopefully this is a wake-up call for some. Check out Patricia's website if you want to see really, really good branding and what elevating your brand can look like on the other side of it. It's worth the investment. It's absolutely worth the investment.
Yep. Another one is they just started their business. They're personal friends of mine as well. And I just love seeing their journey. And they are, they tell their story. They have a great why. They've checked all the boxes so far. They have a great why. Their why, not simultaneously at different times and different time during their lives. It's a husband-wife team. His father told him towards the end of his life that he wished he would have traveled more, and he doesn't want his son to work that much, but to travel. And then her father just passed away recently, and that was one of the things he said. He said, "I wish I wouldn't have worked so much." And they are taking that to heart and have started their own travel business, and it's called Heirloom Journeys. And their branding is beautiful. It is a
hourglass.
It's an hourglass. It's a beautiful hourglass. Beautiful hourglass. And it's done so very well. And it just they're starting off right. They're starting off showing that they are very dedicated to making this journey something of value for their clients. And it's checking off all the boxes. It's showing that they are a true travel advisor.
Yeah. They're doing it right. So they are people there. I love that they're a husband and wife team.
Mm-hmm.
So anyone who is thinking, I really wanted to do a business with my spouse, this is a business you can do with your spouse. We have people in the community that are doing it successfully with their spouse or a mother-daughter but we do. And they are going through the Travel MBA program. They're still in the Travel MBA program. And like Shannon said, they're starting with their why, they're doing the branding right. And because of that, you just went to a ribbon cutting ceremony that they did, which I just love that. It's such a great way to launch a business. It's so fun.
They were so supported. Their local chamber of commerce holds ribbon cutting businesses for businesses in the community that are virtual, because that's how things are these days. And so at the chamber's office, we did the whole thing. We had the ribbon. They cut the ribbon. They had breakfast, coffee. She had take-home gifts for everyone, and there was a good 30 to 40 people there that showed up in support of their business.
Awesome.
And it was a great conversation.
Shannon went to support.
Yeah. And one of our travel partners, a local BDM with Colette, was there.
Oh, I love that.
So yeah,
I love that.
All about partnership and relationships, and showing our appreciation for them, and letting them let their community know what they're doing with their business.
Well, all about relationships is a very good lead-in to our final tip for being, a great travel advisor to help elevate the profession, is cultivating connections. Yeah. So important. And it's not just connections. I mean, this is connections in many directions, right? Cultivate connections with your clients for sure. Absolutely. Cultivate connections with your partners. Boy, did we just do that on our symposium.
Right, exactly.
Oh my gosh. We cultivated connections with our community of advisors, our clients, and our partners, and they got to cultivate connections with their partners. We spent 5 nights, 6 days on a fully chartered river cruise ship with Avalon Waterways on the Poetry 2. And it was basically a semester at sea, except for on the river. And we had, our activities and tours in the morning. And, we would get off the ship and go explore the countryside of France. And then we would have lunch. And then in the afternoon, it was session after session after session. We had 2 different tracks geared towards different phases in the journey. One was for the earlier phases in the journey, and one was for the later phases in the journey. And the content was incredible. Thank you to Kristen and her team. Oh my goodness. The content was just beyond extraordinary. And the partners, they loved and this was our 3rd year doing it. So the partners they're on it with us. We have the whole river cruise.
Immersed in it, participating. Joining in the conversations with the advisors. I mean, you're stuck with not stuck, but you're with the advisor for 6 days.
Yeah.
There's lots of organic conversations that are happening.
So many.
That now you can say, oh yeah, I know Hunter Swindle at Silver Seas.
I think exactly. I think one of my favorite parts of it is, and this is a huge time, the planning of this takes a lot of time of the team, but it's so worth it, is that every night at dinner, they assign you have an assigned seat. You don't have to go figure out who you're eating dinner with. You just show up at the front of the restaurant, and one of our team members is like, all right, you're at table such and such, and you go to the table and you even find your name. So you don't even have to figure out which seat you sit in, but it's done very thoughtfully so that the partners can eat with as many advisors. You never duplicate a partner. They also try their best to mix up the advisors sitting with each other. So you're not sitting with the same advisors every single time. And I know that takes so much time and effort on the team, but it's so well done and everybody loves it because they feel like I got the opportunity to really go deep with these people and I wouldn't have done that if we didn't have dinner together. So,
Yeah. It may seem forced, but it's also putting people outside of their comfort zone and opening up them to opportunities that they don't realize are there. So
yeah.
having them sit with and chat with, and we're seeing, we see results of it
Yeah.
easily. Alex
Talk
Warlow,
about that example of
yeah.
yeah.
So Alex Warlow, it was his first time attending our symposium. He's an experienced advisor. He's doing great, but he is really switching up. I think about 2 years ago, he decided to switch up his focus and try to really focus more on the luxury, on cruises, on luxury cruises, on river cruising, and start doing that. So he's been having events, in-person events in his area at Total Wine, where he has partners come in and do presentations. So he's really been doing a lot to do this. So then on the river cruise, he was there and he just closed a really big booking on Silver Seas. And I know it's as a result of his conversations with Hunter being there from Silver Seas and having conversations and maybe having, a drink after dinner together and talking
Yeah.
about things. And he
And
shared with us, I love this, I gotta tell this story because it just made me so happy when we were on there. He had shared one of his things when we were asking for takeaways. We had talked about dreaming bigger, things like that, and he said one of his takeaways was he is definitely gonna dream bigger, move forward in his plan, and he wants to be the king of river cruising. So our
oh,
host
that's
with
right. I
Avalon
remember this.
came up and said his thank yous for, being the host of the cruise. But he called Alex up there and he had brought an umbrella with him. So I thought he was giving away an umbrella as a prize when I saw him walk up there. And what he did was he called Alex up and he told Alex to kneel down and he crowned him, knighted him, if you will, king of Avalon River Cruise or king of
Cruise.
river cruising. So it was just a special moment. Now,
It
I
was.
forget Richard Hickey with Avalon because of that. Our
Exactly.
other advisors that were on that are gonna remember that specialness, and
Yes.
I'm sure Alex is gonna remember it for a long time to come.
Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I mean, that's the thing is the partners who did join us, they all did such a great job of just, engaging with everybody and participating and being a part of it all. Um, Hunter Swindle did an amazing job, you know, not really just socializing with everybody. And he's very approachable, but it always um takes me by surprise how it really does work that you start to get to know your coverage on a product and you start to hang out with them and talk to them and learn more about that product that they sell, you're going to sell it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it just happens. It's weird. So it's very, very important to cultivate connections with the partners that you want to sell more of.
Right. Yeah.
Don't be afraid to. Don't listen to that little voice of doubt that says, "Oh, you want to sell this, but you'll never find the right client. You'll never have a client who wants that kind of experience." Um, so we are encouraging you to cultivate connections with your partners, cultivate connections with your uh, clients, but also cultivate connections with your community. What
Mhm.
community? There's lots of communities you can choose from. We at Gifted Travel Network um, think it's really important to cultivate a collaborative community for our advisors so that they have a community right there that they can lean into. Um, you might have that with your host. If you don't have that with your host, there are other communities you can join. There's ASTA, right? Do you want to
Yeah.
talk a little bit about ASTA?
Yeah. ASTA is a great community to be with. It's an your industry association. It's very important. It's the people that advocate for travel advisors. They're doing a lot of things with Global Travel Advisor Day on May 7th as well. So they are supporting this, but they are the ones who help us to be heard at the government level. In addition to that, they, provide networking opportunities, conferences, education, all of those things. But the biggest thing with ASTA is the American Society of Travel Advisors is advocating for the advisors and being your voice. For Louisiana just had something about 2 months ago where they were going to tax travel advisors on the packages they sold and on their service fees. So if somebody called me and booked a river cruise, I was going to have to tax them on that. And I was going to have to tax them on the service fee. And I was going to have to do more paperwork. That paperwork I don't want to do all that. So,
And if they booked it direct, they wouldn't have to pay the tax, right?
or they could call a travel advisor out of our state and not have to pay the
Oh
tax.
my goodness.
Yes.
Wow.
So it was a mess. And it wasn't just travel advisors. It was photographers, personal trainers, people that do service work. We're going to get taxed on their services, not goods. But we had a good that they could add the tax on to it. So Asta called me immediately, like literally my phone was ringing and it said Asta. And I'm like, okay, hello. And they're like, we need your help. We need you to get on the phone. We need you to fill out this link, do all of this and help us get the word out to the advisors in your area. And I did. And they asked if this has been going on in a couple of states. So they already have a template that you go in and fill out and it emails your local representatives, gives you the phone number, gives you a script to read when you're talking to them on the phone. And we had over 300 emails sent, 50 phone calls. I think 10 of those were me. And it stopped that bill from being passed. It stopped. They
That's
decided
amazing.
to put it on hold. But I said also hired a lobbyist in our area to go to the offices and pound the pavements and say, you can't do this. I've got advisors I've been talking to. So they need the money for that. So this is why ASTA is so important. They helped us during COVID times to get unemployment. They were able to help advisors get unemployment when advisors weren't paying unemployment taxes, but we were able to get it. So ASTA is a big thing, and they appreciate travel advisors more than anyone that I know. So if you want
the best ways to get involved with ASTA are, number one, just join. Become a member of ASTA if you're not. It really is a no-brainer. You really need to be a member. If you're already a member, you might have a local chapter that you can get involved with. You've been involved with your local chapter, correct?
So I'm the vice president of the Greater New Orleans chapter, and we have meetings every so often. It's every 3 months we'll have a meeting, which involves a supplier coming in, doing a presentation. We're having a big trade show event, a 2-day event in June in New Orleans. That's going to be education sessions and a trade show. So it's a lot of networking, we have partners coming in. We have over 50 partners that are coming in. So it's really a way to elevate the industry. And ASTA is serious about making this be seen as a true profession and not just a hobbyist, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's really what this podcast is all about, is helping people build businesses, thriving businesses, but not just have a thriving business, but also a life that you love around the passion for travel. And Shannon and I get to live this life every single day. It's an incredible life. It's an incredible industry, and there truly is a professional path to follow if you want to sell travel. There is absolutely a professional path. So one of my favorite ways to close these episodes is to ask my guest to share one of their favorite pinch me, oh my God, I can't believe I get to do this for a living moments.
Yeah.
Because we get to live those so often.
We
Do
do.
you have one?
Well, yeah, London. I mean, so for years I've wanted to go to London, like since I was a teenager, and I had the opportunity offered to me to be a nanny for a summer with a friend of my mom's in a town outside of London when I was like 14 or 15. And my mom being very small town, very small minded in a good way, could not understand me leaving and going to another country for 3 months. And she said, "No, you can't do it." And I said, "I will get to London one day. I'll show you." And I don't know why I haven't been before a couple weeks ago, but, yeah, I finally went to London, and it was I mean, I had chills the minute I landed. I was like, "Oh my god, this is it. I'm here. I'm doing it." I showed her, but the thing is I didn't show her, I showed me that it was
Yeah.
possible. That moment planted a seed in me of wanting to travel.
Yeah.
I think that is probably what started it all, what really wanted me to start seeing the world and get out of my small town and still keep the roots, but just see what's out there, what's available. And I got to do that, and I got to do it in a vintage Mini Cooper, and
I love
it was
that.
just so
Yeah.
fun, and it was really a dream come true, and I did it, by myself on an adventure by choice, solo adventure.
Exactly. You did it by look at you, this girl from Louisiana who mom didn't want her to leave the country, went and did this all by herself, and you had the opportunity to do it because you had to travel to France on a river cruise for work.
For work, and so
And
on the way home, I just decided to stay
and on the way home,
overnight.
you're like, "Oh my gosh, I have a couple of extra days. Why don't I stay in London?" And
Right.
yeah, amazing.
I
So
did. I
amazing.
did all the things, well, not all the things. I did just enough to make me wanna go back.
Yes.
So those are one of the many, many pinch me moments. There's so many moments that I've
So
had,
many.
that my clients have had, you know,
Yeah.
in the past, and they're like, "This is really happening."
Yeah.
And it
Yeah.
doesn't get old.
It doesn't. It doesn't get old. It really doesn't. It's just such an incredible life that's possible for a lot more people than I think actually realize.
Right.
And that's what we are here to talk about. Anyway, this has been awesome. Thank you so much, Shannon, for
Thank
joining today and sharing all of your stories and wisdom and shining a light on the travel advisor. And happy Global Travel Advisor Day to
Yes.
everybody.
Happy Travel Advisor Day.
Happy Global Travel Advisor Day. So thank you, everyone. We'll see you on the next episode. Thanks for listening to the Travel Business Unpacked podcast, where we dive deep into the exciting world of travel entrepreneurship. If you're looking for more, we have some great resources for both aspiring travel entrepreneurs and existing travel advisors. Aspiring travel entrepreneurs, if you're thinking about turning your love for travel into a profitable business and enviable life, take our Travel Entrepreneurial Suitability Score quiz. It's fun and insightful. Just go to travelmba.giftedtravelnetwork.com. Find out if you're ready to professionalize your passion for travel. Current travel advisors. If you've been selling travel but haven't been able to grow your sales beyond $200,000 in a 12-month window of time, our quiz can help there too. Again, you can find that at travelmba.giftedtravelnetwork.com. Advisors looking for a change. If you're seeking an elevated hosting experience for the luxury travel advisor, check us out at giftedtravelnetwork.com. We'd love to chat with you. And with that, we wrap up today's journey. We hope we inspired you today, or at a minimum, put a smile on your face.